T-minus 1 minute.
What?
More juice for the hero.
Like the juice. Yeah.
T-minus 50 seconds.
At the point where we're at, it is a lot easier for new people to get up to speed really quick.
T-minus 40 seconds.
Let's go. That's a W. That's E1. That's E1. That's a W. How many of you want to eat a W tonight?
T-minus 30 seconds.
Rick Hill taking over our camera. I think there may be a penalty for excessive celebration, but you know what? I'm going to let that one slide.
T-minus 20 seconds.
That's what I'm talking about. Now y'all some fun.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5,
Take a deep
4,
breath.
3,
This is it, right
2,
here.
1, 0.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Football Card Quest. I'm your host, as always, Andy Kaysen. Join with me, as always, for this live football card eBay buying live stream. I think I kind of mixed some of those words up, but it's Steve, the eBay hitman Caladesi, back with us for the first show in 2023. It's been a weird week, Steve, but how are you doing, sir?
Very hyped about the upcoming playoffs. Though I may be running on fumes coming out of this holiday season, I know that my mind is full steam and ready to see what happens this week and the following. How about yourself?
Yeah, man, we got a lot to get to. Obviously, Week 17 ended in a very odd and tragic way, but there's good news. Like his condition, Damar Hamlin's conditions are improving. We want to get to what his current football card prices are at. I want to get your take on what we're seeing in the football card market, kind of like that phenomenon that we saw earlier this week. Thank God his conditions are improving. We don't have an answer from the NFL on whether or not that game is going to be rescheduled. Looks like it's going to be canceled. They're trying to figure out what to do about that. So we want to touch on that briefly. And then we want to get and actually talk about Week 18, some of these big matchups like the Titans and the Jags and the Lions and the Packers and some of these other big matchups that are like you win, you get in, you lose, you're out kind of thing. And like try and start looking at the playoff picture and getting ready, because typically January is a red hot football card sales month. This week has been just kind of weird because of the whole Damar Hamlin incident.
Yeah, I mean, I think regardless of your stance on everything that happened, you definitely feel for the guy, and you have to admit that it's seeing something like that does rattle you a bit. Seeing anybody get seriously hurt or sick or whatever the case might be, not a good feeling. And I do think that we talked about this a little bit earlier, Andy. I think that there's a lot of polarizing opinions on what should be done regarding the game and the rescheduling of it or the not rescheduling of it. And I think now that the couple days have gone by, you're starting to see a couple more people just not be as scared to voice their opinion. And I just want to say this openly. I do think that they should reschedule the game. And it is okay to both want to see the game played and also wish him the best in his recovery. But I do think that they should play the game. And I do think that there's a lot on the line as far as the league, advertising, sports betting, billions, trillions on the line. I think you have to you do what you got to do. You got to show up and do the job.
Yeah, you show up and do the job just like you, Steve. Got the guns out tonight, man. Ready to do some live sniping on eBay. Got the guns out. I actually got myself here a beer. Shout out to 26 Degree Brewing Co. here. This is check this out. My sister's boyfriend is like a brewer, like a brewer guy at this place, and he brought me some beer for Christmas. Good guy, man. Tell you what, this stuff was aged in a bourbon barrel for 13 months, and it's 9.5% alcohol. I'll tell you what, this stuff is really good. It's actually a brewery in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So if you guys ever get down there, check it out, man. Very tasty. So yeah, I'm Steve. It is very, there are a lot of polarizing opinions. I can't imagine some of the pressures some people are under in the Vegas betting world. Like I think about, just the implications on our fantasy football leagues. And then, you think about the millions of dollars that were probably on that game in some form or fashion in the betting world. And it reminds me of the COVID time period when COVID was at its peak, like when it initially, was at its peak and the NFL was figuring out what to do with that. And they had some games where it's outbreaks were happening and they had games going down. I think I remember a Steelers game or something happening a Tuesday afternoon at 1:00 or something. It was something weird like that. So I think, why can't they tomorrow at 3:00 in the afternoon, try and get the game squared away before, because once you this Saturday, there's games on Saturday, there's games on Sunday. Once you get to these games Saturday and Sunday, there's really no going back, right? Don't they have to play again?
A lot of people are proposing that they push the Pro Bowl back a week, which how could that not be a reasonable or a viable play when the Pro Bowl is essentially a joke? They're playing flag football these days. It's not even worth watching, in my opinion. But we just came out of the last 2-3 years where so many things had to get rescheduled or modified because of health situations or medical reasons or whatever. So rescheduling a game should be relatively simple. I think it's unfair to to everyone that has investments in sports, betting in sports, and to the other teams that had to play an extra game, essentially.
Well, you can see that DeMar Hamlin's prices have come down. I think the ultimate thing that's positive from this is that he is recovering. Positive news from the Hamlin camp, so that is awesome. That is awesome to hear. And everything else, it'll sort itself out, right, Steve? I think we both believe that it'll sort itself out and we'll get through this. We got a lot of other stuff to unpack. I think this really has kind of not only in NFL and in fantasy football and sports betting, the amount of the tweets and news and stuff like that about the NFL has really slowed down this week from what I've observed. And I also think there's been less competition outside of DeMar Hamlin in the sports card. I've actually sniped a couple cards myself this week at surprisingly low prices. Got a mail day, by the way, coming out tomorrow on the channel, guys. And it's an interesting time right now. I hear a lot of guys. Shout out to Drew, Derek, Chad, Wade, Keith, Bill, hey, Bob, Gabe Davis is in the house. Check that out, man. Got Gabe Davis. He said, never go there. Get Steve's haircut. Not a fan of the haircut, Steve. But so it has been a little bit of a weird week when we are getting into playoffs, and typically this time period, January, the past couple of years has been so red hot, ramping up into the playoffs. So that is just very different, and we're getting there. We have a lot to unpack. We want to unpack about the playoffs in week 18 this week, and his card prices have come down a lot, Steve. These were $1,000, $2,000 cards, and I've heard some people are actually documenting some of the crazy shill bidders and sellers that were just doing really unscrupulous things, egregiously heinous type of taking advantage of a terrible situation type of things with DeMar Hamlin cards. Then you also had some sellers that were really doing good things and selling cards and donating that money to his charity and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, Carter and I talked about the other day. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I do want to get your take, Steve, what you think the end game is for those people buying. I'm sure there's a percentage of sold items that did not get paid for, but then the other ones that did get paid for, people were spending $1,000, $2,000 on a college ticket auto or college prestige autograph card of this young man. And I'm just not sure what the end game there was.
I think that when we talk about player hype and stuff like that, it doesn't get any bigger than a guy that's literally national news. I mean, you had people that were talking about this young man who didn't even watch football and maybe saw it on their local news or whatever the case is. So you want to talk about hype. Now, maybe it's for the wrong reason, but, news comes in many ways, shapes, and forms, good and bad. And I think that with all that exposure, you just had a lot of people in on it. And I think everyone just wants to be a part of, culture, current events, culture, and maybe it got overboard in certain situations. I mean, that 250 for like a cracked ice auto is not that ridiculous. But I did see your guys' show the other night and saw that there was definitely some wildness, $2,000 plus on some of them. So I don't think that's cool. I think that if those people genuinely bid on those cards, I hope they at least paid the seller. But yeah, I think it's just a little sensationalism. People going a little overboard on the media hype.
So what do you think the actual percentage of those sold items, let's say $1,000 plus, actually got paid?
1 in 3.
1 in 3. That
Probably.
Sounds about right. That's probably about right.
Yeah,
All
and then
right.
as far as like the ones for the for the past day or two, maybe up to like 2/3.
What's up? Jets Crazy in the house. Got David Bosquet. Got JD Min and A. Nate 78. What's good? Bob Graff. What's good, man? Awesome. I've seen a couple questions in the chat too. I love this because I actually want to ask you this. I want to look at the current playoff picture, pour some out for Jets fans everywhere. Mike White did terrible last week with like a 48 quarterback rating, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns in that ugly loss there to the Seahawks. And in fact, they're out, man. So I'm not sure that if he has showed enough or if he's going to be able to show enough now in the final week. I see he's already questionable with injury, so he may not even play. So the Jets are in a very interesting quarterback needy situation all of a sudden. I don't think that they're convinced that anybody on their roster is going to be the answer for them in 2023. And they're pretty much right there in win now mode. They've got some great electric skill position players on offense. They're good in the trenches. The defense has been really good this year. It's like they are in a win now mode. They just need a quarterback, man.
Yeah, no, that's true, and I think that you could say the same about a lot of other teams that are trying to make it right now too. And shout out to a guy that you're a big fan of, and that is the Panthers and Sam Darnold for having a great game but not quite making it against Tampa Bay.
There was a couple strip sacks and there was one fumble by Darnold that was a kind of a botched snap, and I was like, "Here it comes, baby!" Here we go. I knew there was some Darnold turnover, but I was impressed. I was impressed. He had some good throws. A nice throw to Tommy Tremble. I know Phil DC out there somewhere. He got a good laugh out of that one. And then there was a couple nice passes to DJ Moore, a nice pass to Terrace Marshall. So, like from a passer standpoint, he did okay, but then under pressure. Down the stretch, we really brought the heat. They made some critical mistakes, some turnovers actually went our way this time. And TB12 connected with Big Mike for the big plays, the big bombs that we've been missing all year. Mike Evans putting up 51 fantasy points. Tom Brady putting up 40 fantasy points. Nobody had him on their rosters probably because they haven't done it all year,
Speaking of that, someone near and dear to me messaged me before kickoff and asked for my opinion, start and sit on Mike Evans versus Alan Lazard. And I said, in a must-win situation, you play Brady and you play Evans. And they were very grateful for that advice. So
you say, I send me your retainer fee in football cards, please.
I'll take my 10% for the big guy.
I'll take a hobby box of Mosaic, please. This is my cut of the winning. Speaking of Mosaic, before we get into more of this NFL analysis, have you found any 2022 Mosaic in retail? I also would love to hear from you guys in the chat. Yeehaw, the Ramrod, Victor. If any of you guys out there have found 2022 Mosaic in retail or have ripped any of it, let us know what your experience has been, or if you found any. Really, I have not found any yet, but I haven't gone out into a Target or Walmart and tried either.
Yeah, I haven't been to the store since the product came out. I don't know that it would have been any different than if I actually just didn't go, because in this part of the state, it is very difficult to find any football product. There's tons of Bears fans, there's tons of Packers fans in this area, and it's just it's hard to find football product. You'll find baseball occasionally, basketball occasionally, but outside of like the wild card or the the college uniform stuff, select college uniform that just came out, like there's really no pro uniform stuff that's on the shelf. I will say this, I'm a big Mosaic fan, and I do think that this is the best one yet.
Interesting. Well, the hobby boxes aren't sold out on blowoutcards.com, and I'm wondering if I go to Target now, see real quick, just do a quick search on Target here for some 2022 Mosaic. Come on, Target, I don't need all your ads, just need your Mosaic. They have it in their search database here, but not listed on the website. All right.
So that means at some point it was there.
Yeah, maybe at some point it was there. Let's see what we got for 2022 Mosaic Blaster box. Do you think, now Carter's a big fan of the mega boxes because typically the mega boxes will at least include an autograph in those, or they have a higher, hit rate. You feel like you get more bang for your buck, a little bit more fun of a rip over the blasters. But sometimes they kind of include these special parallels and inserts in the blasters to kind of, coerce you to buy those as well. $50 for a blaster.
Yeah. What's interesting is the retail product still has pretty decent markup, maybe even more than decent. I did see around the holidays some baseball product, and maybe just a hair of football. There was some Chronicles football I saw at Walmart. But the sad thing is that if you actually went on eBay, you could find the same box for quite a bit less with free shipping than retail.
Interesting. Very interesting there. What do you think about XR? I'm see this comment here from Drew Burr about, he's seeing so much ripped on whatnot YouTube, then quickly XR takes over the feed. I have XR, Steve, like the XR cards I have a challenge moving them. I don't see them as high up on the popularity list as Mosaic, in my opinion. What do you think about XR?
They're not bad. They do have a good look about them. I think the problem XR has is they don't have like a unique place. When you think about the Chrome sets, you have Mosaic, Prism, Optic, for example. And then when you have like paper sets, you have like Score, Absolute, yada, yada, yada. XR is kind of like, it doesn't really fit into any of those. It's kind of I think it is a thicker paper card still. It doesn't really have like a notable chase card. It doesn't have a Kaboom. It doesn't have a Downtown. There is some XRs I like. They're autos. I can't remember what they're called, but it's like a transparent window. I know I've sent you a few of those in some auctions I've shared, but I think that if they want to really get on the map, they should really make a chase card that people are really going to want.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, these designs are interesting. And what I just realized is that XR, I believe, is hobby only, right?
Good question.
I think XR may be
Could be.
hobby only.
I don't know that I've ever seen XR product on the shelf anywhere.
Yeah, and you're only getting 14 cards per hobby box, and the hobby box costs the same as a mosaic, and the mosaic you're getting 150 cards per hobby. I mean, okay, $50 cheaper, but $50 is pretty negligible. If you're going to spend 360, you're probably just as likely to spend 400. So, I mean, it's like the negligible difference, but only 14 cards in this, but 2 of them are autos, 1 mem, 1 insert, 4 parallels, 1 out of 1 autograph per case. Now, that's a 1 out of 1 is a whole different animal. That could be pretty desirable, but from what I've seen, XR still struggled. Now, I got to shout out Chad Dyer out there, because he posted that XR is doing game worn patches now, which I find very interesting.
Okay. No, I like that. I do think that should be like the norm, but if they're doing it, maybe they'll set a trend, a precedent that hopefully the other sets will have to follow, because no one's digging the plain napkin patch from Walmart that they just stapled onto the card. There's got to be some kind of relevance to the patch, from a game, from an event with a date on it, something you could pinpoint to a certain moment, to a certain memory.
Yeah, let's see what this T. Higgins says. So check this out. Look at this. Look at it. Check this out, Steve. It's not a rookie card. This is 2021 Panini XR. I really did not even realize this until today, until Chad told me, which leads me to another point. Like during the offseason, I really want to do some deep dive videos on specific sets. There's 54, 55 different sets. We could break one down each week. We can get through a lot of the good ones by the end of the summer. But check this out. Bengals versus Colts, December 18th, 2020. You got the plain white patch there. It says Gamer SXR on the front, and then on the back, the enclosed material was worn used during Higgins' game on 10/18/2020 and is guaranteed by Panini America. The autograph is guaranteed by Panini America.
So what's interesting about that, and this is kind of maybe a first in the hobby, but while that's not a rookie card, that is a rookie piece of memorabilia. If it's from the 2020 season, it's from his rookie year.
Yeah, so the memorabilia is from his rookie year. It just takes him a while to manufacture the card, which you could advertise that in the game-worn rookie patch, because technically that's what it is. It is a game-worn rookie patch, even if it is from 2021. So in a sense, it's rookie-related, right? You're not going to have the rookie card logo on it, but this is absolutely rookie-related because the patch is from his rookie season, which I find very fascinating. Very fascinating.
No, I dig that. I like that. That gold Mixon's actually pretty nice too. Now I like T. Higgins better than Mixon, but the gold with the orange and black from the uniform looks nice.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much a unanimous that the guys in the chat, all of us, I think that those cards are very sneaky. They're undervalued. I think that they would be quite popular. Like Panini should just release a set. Just focus on a set. If they want to have some inserts in other sets, that's cool. But if they proved right here that they can do it, then do it in have a game worn set. I don't know what you call it, but have a game worn set. I think that would be extremely popular, and I think that would add an element to the hobby that is missing right now.
What would be nice? So if you go back to the late 90s and basketball, I think maybe a few other sports did it too with the autographics. Autographics were autographed cards. They could be found across any of the product produced by that company. If you had like a game worn insert, I guess you could call it, and actually have it pullable from all Panini products, not from one specific, but from all Panini products. And maybe XR has like this division, and Donruss has this division, or whatever it is, or just have it just be spread out evenly. Who knows? But I think that'd be kind of a cool thing, and it would encourage people to diversify in what product they're opening.
Man, that would be so cool. Panini only one of my game worn charger scratch and sniff.
Only if it was from the 4-touchdown game, Gabe.
Only if it was from the Kansas City. Yeah. Only if it was from the 4-touchdown game. Awesome. What's up, Mike Ham? Fishing and sports card hobbyist in the chat. Good to see you, dude. Nobody yaks, dude. Awesome. So I want to ask you this, Steve, because we're heading into week 18. I got, the clinch. A lot of teams have already clinched. We got 7 seeds for each side. Got Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, Chargers, and Ravens that have clinched over here. You got a big game between the Jags and the Titans this weekend. Whoever wins gets in. So that's a big game. And then you have like an interesting scenario here with the Patriots, the Dolphins, the Steelers that are actually on the bubble. And so there's Mike McDaniels is actually now on the hot seat after this losing streak that they've gone through. And that's the rumors that I see on Twitter today. I shared it with you in the chat before the show. Was like, this right here, and this is just one of many, but it was basically like, the most serious strut from Mike McDaniels all year on the practice field, and because of how important this Week 18 game is the Dolphins.
What are those called? Capris?
Yeah, capris. I think they're actually sweatpants he just pulls up because they're in Miami and it's freaking hot, man. It's super humid. The temperature here in Tampa hasn't been too bad, but it's super humid. So
yeah, no, I think that if not for the Tua injuries, I think that they'd be well on their way already. But now that they're already saying he's not playing this week, I don't know, man. But I'll tell you what, the Jets have been looking pretty bad, and they basically gave the Seahawks, almost gave them a playoff berth with that awful showing last week. So maybe they'll choke again and let Miami in.
Drew Burr said right now, whoa, per Ian Rapport, if Baltimore defeats Cincinnati, and if those two clubs are scheduled to play a wildcard game against one another, the site for that game would be determined by a coin toss. Oh, so we're getting new news right now from the owners group of what's going down with the AFC seeding. This is pretty wild. The game's going to be determined by a coin toss. Well, that's very Vegas-ish, so I get that. A lot of betting is a coin toss, Looking at the NFC here, Steve, it is also very interesting. You have the Lions and Packers that have been flexed to Sunday night. Those teams are both on the bubble with the Seahawks in the hunt. And then you have the Giants who are resting starters this weekend because they don't have many to begin with, right? And so much of it is on Daniel Jones' shoulder, and they need that defense 100%. So, and then they're playing the Eagles. And the Eagles, I think, are wanting to win this game just for playoff seeding, right? Because they can actually, if they lose and the 49ers win or the Vikings win, there's a potential there to change in like the home field advantage and the first round bye and the seeding there. So I don't know 100% all the details of that scenario, to be honest with you guys. But just looking at this, who do you think is going to win between this Lions-Packers game on Sunday night? Because this is a big one for me.
That is a big one. And I do believe it's in Green Bay, correct?
I believe so. Let me pull it up real quick. I believe it is. I believe you're right.
I mean, Lions haven't been as good on the road, but I got to feel like they haven't seen the playoffs in way too long, and they're gonna come with it. I think that they edge it out. Green Bay has played their best football the past few weeks, but I'm gonna take the Lions.
Yeah, Green Bay, like, yeah, I'm gonna take the Lions too, man. I want to see the Lions getting this into the playoffs, and I think that they are a lot of fun to watch. I think their offense could definitely overpower the Packers. Multifaceted. That's gonna be an interesting game. Very interesting game. I think it's the game that I'm probably the most excited to watch this weekend from a competitive standpoint. I think that game is very exciting. And I mean, so Eagles defense, they're in a pretty good spot this weekend. Jets, Dolphins. I mean, there's a lot of like, uh, I guess, bragging rights or division rivalry. And plus, you have Mike White that's like still fighting to probably, to try and like prove himself for the team. And you probably have, Robert Saleh on the hot seat at this point as well. So, and you have Mike McDaniels on the hot seat on the other side. So this is going to be a very competitive game. Jets, Dolphins. I think that's a great season ender right there. I mean, Texans, Colts, it's kind of like not a lot on the line. This Ravens Bengal game all of a sudden has become incredibly important. There's a lot on the line there based on those teams' records. The Bears, Justin Fields done for the season. And the Vikings, I mean, I guess they have a little bit to play for, so they do want to win. This should be a pretty easy game for them.
I would say if you're doing any DFS sheets, just be careful. There's a lot of teams that are not playing starters or may play them only a limited amount, making it extra complicated to pick a winning sheet.
Yeah, and then you have the Bills Patriots as playoff implications. That's another big one. Now that's another massive one, supposedly in Buffalo too. Bucks Falcons. Bucks have clinched, so it'll be interesting to see. Tom Brady typically doesn't rest, but if we get out to an early lead, like Desmond Ridder hasn't played good at all, so it shouldn't be hard for us to kind of control the game flow there and just get out to a early lead and then maybe rest or just ride it out. But I don't know. Tom Brady may want to grease the groove a little bit more after this past week. Titans Jags is massive. That's the other massive one. That's Saturday night too, man. So very exciting. 2 games on Saturday. Chiefs Raiders, which actually the Chiefs would want to win this game because right now they're 1 game ahead of the Bills. But that's only because the Bills and the Bengals game was canceled for Monday night. So we don't know the outcome, So just very interesting to see what's going to happen there with some of those AFC seeding results from this weekend. But I mean, ultimately, if I came to you right now, Steve, let me throw a situation at you because I've seen this question a couple times. I get this question in my DMs, stuff like that. If I came at you and I'm new to the hobby. I just finished my fantasy football season. I've got $200 in winnings. I want to get into football cards, and I want to try and make some money in the playoffs, something like that. I want to try and buy some cards right now that I can flip in the next month, 2 months max. I mean, if I came to you with $200, what would you recommend that I do with that $200?
I think you got to go with a QB that's going to make it a few rounds in. Last year that for me was Burrow. I think that's a safe play. I think that Hurts is a safe play. I think Mahomes is a universal truth, but you're just not getting a whole lot of Pat Mahomes for $200. A serial numbered non-rookie is going to probably be like around that price. But there are some Burrows, some Hurts you can get in that price range. You can get base prisms. You can probably even get silvers under 200. And you might be able to get even a graded one, I want to say. Not for sure. But I think the PSA 10s, Andy, what did we say they were last week for the Burrow? Maybe just over 200, was it?
Yeah, last I saw, let's pull them up because last I saw they were about 250. In terms of popularity, they are the 3rd most popular graded football card right now. And yeah, I mean, they're about 250. And this is the thing. You see this buy it now, 225 Thursday. That's today. 250 Thursday. So they're about 250, about 250. It's interesting to see like this auction Monday night. So, or not Monday night, excuse me, Tuesday night. So Tuesday night auction, 946, 189. Somebody got a good deal there because there's an auction 840 at 255. So yeah, about between 225 and 250
So,
right there.
well, before you move on there, Andy, can you show everyone that maybe wasn't paying attention last year where that card was at this time? Because if you looked at that card around the time of the Super Bowl, it's probably 2-3 times what it is now.
Yeah, I would say around the Super Bowl. So you can see here January 9th, like this is when the Bengals were peaking. You can see heading into the playoffs there, and they had a lower pop count, but 5,545, still significantly lower than what you'd see in base prism for any type of modern basketball player.
Look at that look at that mountain as they progressed into the playoffs. Look at that.
Yeah. Heading into the Super Bowl, $600. So I can easily see it getting back to 500, 550. Some maybe not quite as high, or maybe it just it'll be interesting to see. But I mean, definitely I could see it getting back to around here, like right around 600 or something, if they make it all the way to the big game again.
Yeah, and if this becomes a reoccurring theme every year, you're going to start seeing post-playoffs the regression to the means not be as far from where it was spiking. So if it does get to 500-600, it may not go back to 250. It might start lingering at 400 only.
Yeah, it may. And you could see this was the same exact low period for Burrow last year. I mean, it's like clockwork, and that's why we were beating the drum for him in November. Because look at it, man. I mean, 150, 130, 100, like even a lowest price of like 118, I think I saw. And now that card is up to, close to 250. And it's going to still climb. It's going to keep slowly climbing. It surpassed the Herbert. It surpassed the Hurts. The Hurts about 150. He's at a negative 5% because he hasn't played in a couple weeks. But once we get into the playoffs, if the Eagles advance around, I think we see an immediate like 30% jump. I could see this card getting up to a decent amount. It just depends on how far they advance in the playoffs. So you're thinking, okay, $200. Yeah, I mean, if I had to scrap another $50 to $100 together, I could to make the right move. So, if you recommended this to me, then I could definitely scrap together, an extra $50. Thinking from an outside perspective, you're able to scrap together 200. Chances are you could scrap together 250.
Let's see what the Optic Hollow's going for.
On Burrow?
Yeah. So let's see. Based on the sales data, you can get a 9 for about 160, 170. I see some as low as 130 a week or two ago. So that's ideal right there. It might not be a 10, but it puts you in a position to have room to buy another card still if you're looking to get multiple Burrows.
Yeah, this card's got a lot of upside too, man. 52-week high, 300s. Optic Hollows are just so popular. And the 9's got a population of 970, 1,062. But man, so many sales even in the past month. 31 sales, 27 sales on the 9, and then you have even 3 sales on 8s, and people just do not like PSA 8s. Just psychologically, no one likes an 8 unless it's an Optic Hollow. You've got the iconic rated rookie logo. You've got the great design. I would even say you can get an 8 and crack it out. Or you could just buy a nice raw one. But I'm saying PSA 8 that looks like a good raw card.
One piece of advice, especially if you're looking to list some cards for the playoffs, now that eBay has the option to force payment when someone wants to do a buy it now, I would highly recommend that. situation where a team, if you sell a player's card and the team were to lose the game, it does create quite a volatile situation where the buyer may not pay. I hate that that's a real thing, but that is a real thing.
Yeah, another advantage of doing a buy now, or I guess you could set up that feature even if you do auctions. I don't do many auctions, so I'm guessing there you could tab over that option to require immediate payment when you do an auction as well.
I'm not sure how it works with auctions, but I definitely know in the buy it now format that it works. And that's the route you want to go. Obviously, probably isn't the worst case scenario to do it for all your auctions, not just for the playoffs. But the problem is that you will not have another good opportunity to flip it at that price if that team gets eliminated, and then you'll have to hope they make the playoffs next year. So it's not really fair to you if someone ruins that for you by not paying, whereas maybe the next bidder might have paid. So just do yourself a favor and check the box.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So what I'm seeing here is that on average, the raw card will sell for more. Obviously, we talked about how weird this week has been, but if you like go back to January 3rd, which was Tuesday. I mean, the raw card on average goes for more than what the PSA 8 goes for. So it's something, interesting to consider there. I like that play. What do you think about Daniel Jones? I know I talked about him as my play of the week with Carter earlier this week. I saw his cards going up. They were so cheap. The Giants clinching. They get the Vikings. If they beat the Vikings in the first round, I mean, we've seen the Vikings be exploitable and beatable. I mean, just the card is just so cheap. Like if I get the same prism that probably has half of the pop, and it's all about like that. Look at this. Somebody put hot again in the title.
Here's the thing. Yeah, I definitely still think it's a good buy. I mean, I was a big proponent of advocating for this earlier in the year, before they had even played a game. And so shout out to you if you took that advice and got on board. You probably have a lot of upside in your flip if you choose to move on from the card. But I don't think at this point, with how well he's played, that they're going to try to get rid of him in the offseason. And they can probably only get better because they're going to be looking to get some offensive weapons, some receivers, and actually do something. He's done quite well with the guys they have. So imagine if they had some legitimate receiving weapons, what could be done there?
Yeah, and it's like they're up a good amount, but it's still not anything respectable. I mean, let's talk about Kyler Murray, who's tore his ACL and is done, and it's just total flamed out season. And like, I'm looking at his Prism PSA 10, about the same as Daniel Jones, or even like if I put Jared Stidham in there, and look at all three of those guys, you actually have Stidham earning more sales in the past 30 days.
Those were $12 to $15 last week.
Yeah, current trend is the exact same as Daniel Jones. This is the FOMO effect, the fear of missing out. A little bit of more of a wild card unknown fact. You also have a Devontae Adams effect. We could talk about Devontae Adams wanting to get the Tom Brady treatment, for a second, demanding the Raiders front office involve him in the quarterback discussion for who's going to be their QB in 2023.
Now, I got to chime in on that because normally I would be against that conceptually. But to be fair, they did lure him there with Carr. That was the bait. And then he did arrive, and the bait was actually just one of those shiny fishing lures that wasn't really bait. It was a distraction. So I think that they owe it to him to have a say in the matter.
What's interesting, yeah, I mean, it is very interesting. And Devontae Adams has proven himself at the highest level. And, he's just so good on so many levels. So I do feel like they owe it to him a little bit. I mean, I think that Josh McDaniels should be on the hot seat. Like, if anything, there's a coach that needs to be on the hot seat, like Nathaniel Hackett got fired. I mean, Josh McDaniels absolutely needs to be in consideration for being fired there.
Yeah, no, he definitely has not done a good job, and that whole organization's just been kind of in disarray since they fired their head coach 2 seasons ago. Maybe it was last season, I can't remember, but he definitely hasn't been adequate or even average for how good that team is talent-wise. Outside of the run game, they've looked just outright bad.
What about Justin Herbert? Do we think they can advance at all in the playoffs if they're in the seeding? They may end up playing. They may end up playing a team like the Bengals in the first round. Now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, they may end up playing a team like the Bengals or the Bills in the first round. It could be pretty difficult if the Chiefs get the first round bye, and then the second seed is going to play the 7th seed. The Chargers aren't the bottom seed in the NFL, so I guess maybe they wouldn't play the bottom seed, so they could end up playing the Bengals. It could be Bengals Chargers.
That would be a cool story because you'd have the two best debatable, but two best 2020 QBs facing off. But here's why I like the Herbert play, and it's not just because of the playoffs. Or here's why I like the Hurts or the Burrow play, and it's not just because of the playoffs. And it's because they have great long-term value. The card itself probably at some point will be worth quite a bit more than it's worth now. So even if they don't advance past the first round and you're forced to hold on to it for a bit longer, you can, or you could probably move on to it for even a small gain if you just put it listed at a fair price and don't feel like holding it any longer. That's the nice thing about getting a card from a liquid set like an Optic Hollow, Prism Silver, etc.
Victor says the Chargers would play the Jags. Well, that's even more favorable matchup for the Chargers if that's the case. The Jags get in. So either way,
the Chargers are getting hot at the right time.
Yeah, the Chargers are getting hot at the right time. They got their weapons healthy. They're getting Joey Bosa back healthy. So the defense is coming together. And that combo of Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa in the beginning of the season was absolutely lethal, man. Lethal. They just tore Derek Carr to shreds. Now, Trevor Lawrence got a little bit more mobility, and they've got a good run game too. They've got some weapons. They've got some good coaching. They've got a lot going on in Jacksonville. They're a very exciting team these days. But and this is going to be a great game. But, man, like whatever the scenario is, whether it's the Bengals or the Jags, I'm thinking like this is creating for some really good hype. Really good hype. What I find very interesting is we have like a clear $50 difference in the Prism PSA 10 values between Burrow and Herbert. We also have a $50 difference in the base downwards values of Burrow and Herbert. But then if we go to the Optic Hollow, well, all of a sudden, the Justin Herbert Optic Hollows are selling for about $50 to $100 more than the Joe Burrow Optic Hollows. That I find very, very interesting, Steve. Why do you think that is?
Did you say 50 to 100?
Yeah, because look, auction Wednesday, last night, 550. Last night, 592. So the trend for that Optic Hollow PSA 10 on Herbert is going up. And then I go back to the Burrow, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. The Burrow trend is $499 by it now. Last night, $460 auction yesterday evening. Do you see what I'm saying? It's about $100 difference.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. It's two things. One, it's a small sample size, but I think the other is more obvious than you think. They just played a game that didn't finish. and that's going to leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, right? So whether or not they replay it or not, or whatever the case is, that's the most recent memory that somebody has of Joe Burrow, and it's not necessarily a favorable one.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Very interesting. This is kind of like, people have looked away from that and they're looking towards teams like the Chargers. You talked about Patrick Mahomes as being, somebody that's like, well, you can't go wrong, right? And I wonder the same thing about Tom Brady right now, with him having clinched and knowing Tom Brady's resume in the playoffs and what he's capable of, and now what they just have left on film last weekend. It's like, here comes Brady. Here comes Brady in the Bucs, and obviously he's got some really expensive rookie cards because like the Impact PSA 10s like are over $1,000, and that's like a college uniform card. But I wonder, like, I think that there is potential to have a very short-term flip on Brady with some long-term security. However, I don't know if it would maybe too late or too difficult, because people are going to be so quick to say, hey, it's Tom Brady in the playoffs. I'm not selling this thing. I'm going to try and ride it out and see what happens, because push comes to shove. Maybe he plays again next year, or maybe because it's Tom Brady. Like, no, you could pretty much ask anybody in the world that it doesn't know anything about football. They know who Tom Brady is, right? He's kind of like one of those guys, like just a global figure in sports at this point.
I think the thing with Brady is that it's always a safe buy because there's always going to be a high demand for it. But I don't think, because of the point in his career that he's at, I don't think you have that volatility that you might have with a guy that's under 25 years old. So there might be might be an increase in demand, which will lead to more sales, maybe a slight price uptick, but I don't think it would be as drastic as if Burrow throws 5 touchdowns, right?
Yeah, you're right, because there's not as much fear of missing out, right?
Right. If Burrow throws 5 touchdowns, his $200 Prism PSA 10 goes from 200 to 400 or 500. If Brady does the exact same thing, his rookie card is not tripling. It might go up $100 or $200.
Yeah, that's true. And at the same token, we've seen now one good game out of how many, whereas Burrow is stacking wins on wins on wins of these just incredible clutch performances where he's utilizing the weapons, the chemistry is there, everything is there for them, whereas the Bucs are just finally now getting their crap together on offense. The defense has been playing solid, even though they lost key components like Shaq Barrett, and stuff. And there's a couple other guys in our secondary. Finally got Winfield back, and he made a big impact last week. But I think that the Bengals have just been stacking wins on wins on wins, and he is so young. Like, he's one of those guys, if he goes back to the Super Bowl this year, he really will become like this guy on a pedestal like Patrick Mahomes, because it's kind of how Patrick Mahomes got there. Now, Burrow doesn't make some of the same plays that Patrick Mahomes, but I'll tell you what, Steve, if there is one guy that can escape from just crazy pressure, and you're like, how the hell did that guy just break 3 tackles when he looks like, Coley McCogan from Home Alone, like he's got like this baby face from that kid from Home Alone, but yet, I mean, he's got sneaky mobility, clutch decision-making skills, and great weapons, and like a solid arm. Like, it's not a Josh Allen cannon. It's not this Patrick Mahomes thing where he does these weird, throws like sideways on the field and his sidearm and stuff. It's just, I mean, and the guy is super suave and savvy and likable off the field. The stuff he wears, the press medias, and like his answers to their questions and stuff. I mean, he's just a really cool guy. And I mean, if he gets back to the Super Bowl, watch out. Like, I actually take it back. I think his card prices can get higher than what they were last year if he makes it back, because this year, especially this year, I think that they would probably be maybe favorites I can't picture a team that they play from the NFC where they wouldn't be on paper favorites. Maybe the 49ers, something like that. But then you're talking about a guy that's been there versus Mr. Irrelevant in the 49ers. And yeah, he's been great. He's looked like a veteran, but he's that new guy. Like, you look at golfers, like how many birdies can they put together in a row before the pressure mounts and mounts and mounts and mounts till finally they're in the big game. We even saw it with Jordan Spieth at the Masters. We've seen it with other players in the NFL. They at some point they make a mistake and they show that, yes, they are a rookie. They do have things to learn on the biggest stage, And Burrow's been there. Going back to LSU, now in the NFL, the Super Bowl, and they could have won that game. They were this close to beating the Rams in the Super Bowl.
If you look at the shortened Monday night game, I mean, first drive they just cut the Bills defense apart. They just walked down the field and scored. I mean, they made it look so easy. So I really don't think who they play is going to matter if they make it that far. I think I've been saying it since day one. I think that they're my favorite to go back to the Super Bowl from the AFC.
Interesting. So, I mean, that right there makes for an incredible play, Joe Burrow. I still think, like, if you are going to Patrick Mahomes, because they right now, like, just looking at them, it's hard to say that they don't run the NFL, right? Until proven otherwise. They are the team to beat, just because they have been that team over the past 4 years. So, like, this card right here, Steve, I have seen this card get up to $250, $300. And in a raw format, if I can get a base Donruss Patrick Mahomes for about $100 in good condition, I think that's a good buy. The one thing that I'm concerned about is the fact that it could be, at this point, counterfeit. That is the one thing that concerns me. So just like Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, these guys are now suspect to counterfeit cards, and it's more difficult to discern this just by looking at the pictures. It really is. I mean, some of them you could tell. There was a string of Josh Allen fake optic cards being printed, and those are easy to tell. But base Donruss, I get a little bit more nervous about because it's like a base cardstock card. And the only thing that tells you that it's a real card is like this shiny Donruss logo. So I would actually say, if you're thinking about buying a base Donruss Patrick Mahomes, to actually message the seller and, like, send me a picture that has this little Donruss logo. I want to see that little shine on that Donruss logo to make sure this thing is real. I don't know, because that would be hard to replicate. Wouldn't you think, Steve?
Yeah, and just try to make sure that you're buying from somebody with a good rep. Obviously eBay has their authenticity and protection guarantee. So if you don't get what was described in the listing, like, I think that though they do charge a lot in fees, that is one upside of buying on eBay, is you do have protection. Even if it's not over $250, you are still promised the item that you were reported to be buying. So, but I do agree. I don't know how much more they are in like an 8 or a 9 grade versus raw, but it may be to your advantage to spend a couple extra bucks and just get a graded one.
Yeah, you spend a couple extra $100, but even if you get an 8, that's the thing. The raw cards typically sell for more than 8s, and you can always crack them out very easily. The PSA cases aren't anything to special. I mean, you could crack them out with a strong pair of garden shears. I mean, I crack out a CSG slab with a strong pair of garden shears, believe it or not. I look at the Josh Allens, though, and a lot of people say, hey, he's become more of a game manager. We don't know when, obviously, Monday night. Thank God DeMar's healthy, though, by the way, if you guys are just hopping in. We kind of talked about that earlier. Not healthy, but getting better, progressing in his status. But do you ever think that Josh Allen's optics, for example, will get to that of Patrick Mahomes or higher? Like, this guy has demonstrated the ability to put this team on his shoulders, to run the ball at an elite level. He's got a freaking cannon for an arm and some of the best skill position players. Gabe Davis will attest to it, even though he thinks Joe Burrow is a sexy mofo. I know that he's a big Josh Allen fan as well, And, Stephon Diggs is he's the man. He's one of the best wide receivers in the league on the outside, separation, contested catches. I mean, the guy is incredible. And this PSA 10 for Josh Allen, Steve, in the beginning of the season, you could see that card. That card was like, if I actually go back 6 months, there was points in the beginning of the season where I was seeing that card spike for about $1,000. These were confirmed $1,000 transactions.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, he's really cooled off a lot and just really hasn't showed those performances where he's put the team on his shoulders and put up 40, 50 fantasy points, which, as you guys all know, is derived from actual on-field production, whether it's rushing or passing touchdowns,
Yeah, if you recall, maybe it was 6 or so weeks ago, he had some kind of elbow injury of some kind, and I think he's just playing through it. I don't think that he's like suddenly not as good as he was the last 2 years or 2.5 years or whatever. But obviously, it's going to affect his play if it's still healing. And I think that looking at his interception totals, you have to see that he's not performing at the level he was pre-injury. So that could mean a good buying window, perhaps, especially if the card has a ceiling of over $1,000.
Love it. I'm reading the chat over here. Got some great chat going on. Great chat. Oh, that sucks, Travis.
What's interesting is we talked about this guy in the offseason, and his cards have been massively undervalued, and that's with Dak. Dak's still on a team that could be Super Bowl bound, and his optics in a similar grade are dirt cheap by comparison.
Yeah, they've leveled off here. At least we're not seeing a negative trend on Dak anymore. And you know why? I think we've seen some of the biggest games we've seen out of Dak and CeeDee Lamb. That chemistry has been building. We have seen them get more aggressive when they need to, as recent as the Titans. They did exactly what we thought they were going to do. We thought they were going to come out aggressive and try and exploit the Titans' weaknesses in their secondary. They did just that, Steve. CeeDee Lamb, it has really grown a lot in the NFL, and so has Dak. And without Tony Pollard fully healthy, I still look at Zeke on TV, and I'm like, yeah, he's definitely lost a step. Like, he's good, but he's not that guy anymore. Like, when I watch Tony Pollard, he is just on another level above Zeke. Like, he is one of those elite running backs in the NFL. But yeah, I'm happy to see that Dak's prices have stabilized and they're actually slightly up. But you're right, they have room to go up a lot. But I think it's going to come down to who gets to that divisional round, who gets to the championship game, who gets to the big game. And if you get that right, then you are golden. You're golden. So just like we did last week, Steve, when we were on here, we did some best ball drafts on Underdog Fantasy that was just playoffs. So I think that's a perfect time to share one of our sponsors of the show, UnderdogFantasy.com. They do drafts that you guys can get into right now called the Mitten 3, $50,000 to first place. And it's picking the players that are going to perform the best throughout the duration of the playoffs. If you get this right, and then you parlay that with some football card investment on those teams, you're not only going to make the $50K from the Mitten, but you're going to actually have some concrete investments that you'll be able to easily flip for potentially double, triple, depending on the card that you buy into, the price point you get in on it at, the player, how much FOMO are they going to generate by, like, if Trevor Lawrence gets to the divisional game, Steve, say you bet on Trevor Lawrence and Christian Kirk and Zay Jones and Travis Etienne to get to the divisional round or even the championship game. Oh my God, Steve, it would just be insane for his card values.
Yeah, and I do think that they are already high given the early point in his career, but you got a lot of people that are Trevor Lawrence truthers, lifers. They think that he's the next Peyton Manning or whatever, and a run like that deep into the playoffs would definitely create a little brush fire under the the already burning that is his cards in the hobby. The thing about these kind of tournaments, while we're talking about the Mitten 3, is sheet variation or entry variation is going to be a big thing as you get to the later into the rounds, because you're going to have a lot of guys that they all have Burrow, or they all have this guy, or they all have that guy. But if you have Lawrence and he's not highly represented on a lot of these entries, then you're at a big leg up.
Ownership percentage. And I think the same thing applies in cards. That's why I look at guys like Daniel Jones. He's got a low ownership percentage, not only in fantasy, like these best ball drafts. So the other thing cool about it, like, guys, you draft this team in the Mitten, you don't have to mess with it. There's no like having to log in every week and set the lineup and this and that. They're going to optimize and give you the most amount of points on a weekly basis. If you guys want to get in on it, promo code QUEST gets you a 100% instant deposit bonus. It's only a $5 entry. We probably will do one before we get out of here because they're short. They're like 15 minutes long. A lot of fun. Fantasy season's not over. I love best ball because I can put in like 50 different sheets, like Steve said, and kind of diversify my exposure. Kind of like football cards. I could build a big collection, and I don't have to interact with it on a daily or weekly basis trying to figure out to like optimize it. They'll just do it for me, So I think those are kind of like the advantages of having like an eBay vault or maybe comc.com, or it's kind of like best ball to, a dynasty or a seasonal long league. But promo code Quest, underdogfantasy.com. But I think it parlays perfectly, because I look at guys like Daniel Jones and Trevor Lawrence and think they're long shots, but they also have low ownership. So at the same time, if I want to take that to another level in cards, Steve, I'm going to look for cards that are more rare, right? I'm going to look for cards that have some great eye appeal. That rated rookie logo we talk about, the grade, the PSA 10. We know Trevor Lawrence has a very low pop count on his Prism PSA 10 because of how hard that card is to get graded. If I can find one of those any around market value, really, with how low that pop count is, I compare it to 2020, thinking this guy's got another 12, 15 years in the league. If I get my hands on one, even if it's at market value, the upside could be exponential. Same thing with Daniel Jones there, and his cards are readily available right now.
And I think the big thing with that is it's not going to cost you very much to, as you showed earlier, you could go pick up a Prism PSA 10 for $35 and see to potentially make a sizable return on your investment if they were to progress a few rounds in. I mean, heck, Eli Manning won a Super Bowl with the Giants, so maybe a Saquon Barkley-led Giants team could make a run in this league. You never know. Every week is an opportunity to win, regardless of who you're playing against.
You know what? I'm seeing some interest in the chat for one of these mittens. They're 15-minute drafts, guys. We're going to pick one. You guys can get into this. Derek, Steve, you guys want to open up Underdog Fantasy? We can get in the same draft pool together. So I'm going to explain it real quick. Super easy. Super easy. You see, it's going to get up to 56,000 people. Currently has 6,809 and counting, right? What happens, this starts when the playoffs starts. Whatever teams get into the playoffs, you're going to get points for those players, right? So you don't want to pick players on the Raiders, for example, or the Broncos, or the Panthers, or any of these teams that are not in the playoffs. What you want to do is pick players that are actually in the playoffs. So you can see here, there's 4 rounds: a qualifier, wild card, quarterfinals, divisional, semifinals, and then the Super Bowl. So ultimately, you want to pick players that you think are going to be in the Super Bowl. And then it's a standard 0.5 PPR. It's 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 2 wide receiver, tight end, and then 1 flex and 5 bench. And so basically you pick this team. It doesn't matter who's on your bench, who's on your starting roster. They're going to give you the points for whoever scores the most points that week. Automatically optimized. And then we're going to get into this, and you'll see it's going to be I think it's a 6-person leagues. Yeah, 6-person leagues. And so as you go through each round, they take a winner from those leagues and they consolidate them down into bigger leagues. And then probably in the semifinals and the finals, you're in like probably a 100-person league now all of a sudden. So That's where the ownership projections or the ownership percentages come into play. It was the same thing we did before the season for season-long best ball. Ultimately, what you want to do is pick the players that are going to make it to the championship game, the Super Bowl, that are going to put up the most amount of fantasy points, i.e. production throughout the playoffs, which is going to directly carry over. It's got a direct correlation with the rookie card values of those players' cards as well. So let's get into this, Steve, shall we?
Yeah, and the
Let's
last
do one real
part of
quick.
his question, are we starting?
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
going to say the last part of his question about guys that aren't teams that aren't officially in it yet. So the teams that are on the edge maybe they'll make it, maybe they won't. They just have a lower average draft position. You can use that to your advantage because if those guys make it in, you were able to get them much later in the draft than, let's say, someone who's already a lock and is in the playoffs. So just take that into consideration. If you're taking anyone from the Lions, Dolphins, Seahawks, etc., they're not a lock, but they're available.
All right. In 5 seconds, we're going to pick the players that are going to perform the best throughout the duration of the playoffs. You guys get into this with us on this. Dear God, this bourbon beer is super strong. Y'all are getting me a little saucy tonight, man. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code QUEST. 5 seconds. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Dang, that one filled up quick, Steve. Might have to get into
Did I not get in the same one as you guys? Oh, no, I didn't.
Autopilot on. Autopilot on. You got.
I wonder.
Are you guys all in one?
I wonder if too many of us tried to get in at the same time.
I don't have anybody that I know in this one.
Oh, that's
Notice me, Senpai, Brinson, Erster, Jick. I jumped into one that was basically full. All right, screw it. Are you in one?
I got Derek, myself. I don't recognize any of the other names, but if you're in this draft with us, say hey in the chat.
Just Phil with Steve. Okay. Well, I'm gonna roll with mine, and then we'll go through one real quick, and we could talk about it together. But you can see how the ADPs are sorted. They're sorted based on favorites. Oh, did I get 1.1? No, I didn't have the autopilot on. Wished to enter autopilot mode. No. It automatically drafted Josh Allen for me. Auto pick Andy striked early.
I thought I saw the prompt come up, and I could have swore you clicked yes when.
I thought I turned it off. Maybe I wasn't quick enough. So right there, you could see Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. They're the two favorites right now. I mean, obviously they can't be in the Super Bowl together, but both these guys have a high likelihood of making it to the championship game. The one guy that's kind of being devalued. Plus, look, think about it. These guys have the rushing upside. Even though Josh Allen's been that game manager, we really talked about it, man. He's got the potential to put up those mega rushing plus passing performances on a high-octane offense. So it's interesting to consider. And then you have Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts has got a lot to gain. We didn't really talk a whole lot about him tonight, Steve, yet. But the Eagles, with how well-rounded their team is, I find very few defenses, if they really do get back to that early season or mid-season form, any form that they had before Jalen Hurts hurt his shoulder, which I saw that he's practicing this week, so that's good. And he'll be good to go for the playoffs. That's why they rested him for 2 weeks. Gardner Minshew got the starts. So, yeah, I mean, they could make a deep run in the NFC, and that would do a lot for his card value. He's another guy that's got a lot to gain from the playoffs. Burrow goes next, Steve. Burrow goes next in my league.
Let's see, Burrow went as the 1.5 in this one.
So I got T. Higgins here, man. I mean, that seems really good to me. I kind of go with ADP there, get T. Higgins. But then it's AFC.
You guys are a whole round ahead of us, and we started at the exact same time, just about.
Man, a lot of I gotta go with somebody NFC here. I'm gonna go Pollard. I don't love that play because of the role gets split with Ezekiel Elliott. But he's just so explosive, so dynamic, got so involved in the receiving game too. The role in the receiving game expanded so much coming down the stretch here. Man, I mean, look, this guy's healthy. This is a guy I love too because for cards, because it's like after this year, he's going to be a free agent, man. And there's no way in hell that the Cowboys can afford to keep him and Zeke. I mean, he's going to demand a bag of money, Steve. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. And I mean, even if his usage stays the same, look at his value has maintained, even when he had a lesser role with the team. He's just a hometown favorite. He's a hobby favorite. And if he does carve out even a more of a line share of the carries, his value can only go up from there. In fact, when I first started doing the whole eBay thing, right around the time I joined your community, some of my easiest sales were his cards, which was a shock to me because he was a timeshare running back.
That may be an effect of me talking about him so much, or that may be an effect of how good he was at Memphis, or that may be just how explosive he was. Like even when his role was so minimal, there was just like he would get the ball and just have these breakaway runs. And it's like, here he goes, breaking 3 tackles and dominating. I remember that game against the 49ers last year, and he broke like 3 tackles, and the guy's pulling his shirt, ripping his undershirt off, and he's just taking off, man. And Dallas will draft Bijan. Derek. Derek. Yeah, right. Maybe they will actually. Actually, it's not too far off from them.
Derek's busting on me for auto picking. I clicked on Prescott, which annoyed me because it auto picked me Samuel, but the next guy took Prescott, so I'm definitely not getting him next time around. But Pollard is electric, man. He's
so electric.
Obviously, I think his value is going to be enhanced the most by staying in Dallas, but that might not be a situation. I mean, I don't know how much money's owed to Elliott. I don't know what their cap looks like.
So I got Pollard, I got Higgins, I got Josh Allen. Man, Debo's back this week, so I think that you kind of have to keep Brandon Ayuk in check with Debo Samuel on the field. He's a game changer. I think I do go. No. You know what I do? If I get him, did I get him? No, I didn't get him. Damn it! I got auto picked. I was gonna get Devin Singletary there. Oh, I did get him. Oh wow, man! I forget, dude. Critical.
You'll be all right, bro.
Who thought fantasy football could be this hard? No, it's all the focus is on the draft, and I'd say the draft is probably one of the most fun parts of playing fantasy. It's just a little bit challenging when you're streaming and also drinking some 9% bourbon beer. I mean, dear God, this stuff is strong, dude. 9.2%. I don't ever drink beer this strong. I don't drink that much, so I'm feeling it pretty good right now, man. Playoffs is 3 to 4 games, lots of injuries, even if eliminating a guy. David Bosquet says, should I sell my Zeke rookies now? I would absolutely try and sell them in the playoffs, because you got to also think about the age apex. No, this is my first beer, David. This is my first beer. It's a tall boy, and it's like 9% because it was aged in a bourbon barrel for a year. No, but think about this. Zeke is over the age apex for running backs. This is the point, just like Derrick Henry, just like Christian McCaffrey. If you guys can get profit on these guys now, take it. These guys are hitting that mileage point, 10,000 snaps. PFF, Player Profiler, these other major, very highly regarded experts in the football, fantasy football, sports betting space have done extensive research on the production of running backs after they take 10,000 carries. And Zeke is over that apex, right? And then you combine that with the age. There's very few players, anomalies like Adrian Peterson, that have been able to perform at any resemblance of a high level after they hit 27, 28 years old. 28 is like the peak for running back. And then you combine that with over 10,000 carries, because Zeke took a ton of carries at Ohio State. You know what I'm saying? Zeke's been a bell cow since going back to college, probably high school too. You add all that stuff together, man. The guy, if you can make profit on him now, and I know some people don't want to hear this, if you can make a profit on Zeke, Christian McCaffrey, or Derrick Henry right now, take it. Especially guys like Alvin Kamara too, Joe Mixon, all those guys from that draft class, take it.
Yeah, Mixon is one of those guys where he'll have a huge week and you'll be able to move a bunch of Mixons, but as a whole, it's been, some of his stuff is a bit harder to sell for whatever reason.
As I draft Ezekiel Elliott, I've got him on my team now. TJ Hawkinson, baby, let's go.
I guess I'll keep going with the stack here. Andy, you'd be pretty proud of the stack that I got going here.
What you got going?
You want to do a little compare and contrast? I'll tell you my team.
Yeah,
here.
mine's pretty bad, so you won't be difficult for you to beat mine.
I have Herbert and Purdy. I have McCaffrey and Eckler. And then I have Debo, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. I literally have all Niners and Chargers.
Interesting. I like Chad bringing it back to this week 18. But Derrick Henry is 29, so he is different. He's different. He's one of those guys like AP. If he stays in good shape, we've seen Derrick Henry's offseason workout regimen. He's not working out with Leonard Fournette. No, none of that. Derrick Henry, he's on a high protein, a low fat diet or whatever, and working out a lot. And I know Lenny is too, but Lenny, he gets into them those house parties and stuff like that, man. Lenny kicks back, especially after this year, man. He got him a big bag of money last year, so you can't help the guy finally getting a bag of money. Already got a Super Bowl ring after how good he did, But I digress. Chad, this week, I should say, Jared Stidham last week, loved it. I mean, the guy took some crazy hits and still connected with Devontae Adams, where they're crazy dimes. Looked like a stud out there. Card spike. Nice little spike. Sam Howell, Washington Commanders, Steve. We saw Sam Howell put up some pretty impressive rushes in the preseason. And we know this guy is a gamer. He's competitive. He's aggressive. And this is an interesting guy that could absolutely prove himself in a dual threat capacity with some great weapons on the Commanders. He's getting a start this weekend after Carson Wentz has been benched. Total flame out. Now from two teams, Carson Wentz's career is pretty much donezo's at this point. Sam Howell this week, he's also a rookie. I like that because the rookie factor is big. We didn't get it right on Desmond Ridder. Think we can get it right on Sam Howell?
I'm not big on the guy. I'm not to say that means that he can't be good, but I think he definitely deserves a shot to play. I think Wentz is for sure done, but I say it's admirable that he gets a start, and with them being out of the playoff picture, no reason not to see what the guy can do.
Tyreek Hill's still on here, but that's because Miami may not make the playoffs, brother. I don't think the Baltimore Ravens are going to advance far. I think Lamar is going to be a little rusty coming back. I'd rather put my money on McKenzie because I've got Josh Allen, and that's just You know, I'm swinging for the fences here.
It's a nice dart throw, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I've got Josh Allen. I have nobody else besides Devin Singletary. I've got Allen and Singletary. You could say maybe Allen and James Cook would be a better connection. I'm sure James Cook is, well, he's still out there. No, he's gone. Okay, there he is. But McKenzie's taken over that Jamison Crowder role. The Khalil Shakir, he's ahead of him. Isaiah McKenzie is one of the more fast twitch guys on the team. I definitely could see him having some spike games in the playoffs when they need him most. You know, I love that Dawson Knox pick. How you rounding out the end of your draft over there, Steve?
You know, I figured I was already all in on these two teams, so I stuck with it, and I ended up finishing up with Elijah Mitchell, Jalen Waddle, and Josh Palmer. And Elijah Mitchell is actually playing this week, believe it or not.
Yeah, he's back, man. If that guy's healthy, this is what becomes very interesting with Christian McCaffrey, because if they get up to any resemblance of a lead and Elijah Mitchell's healthy, he's going to get the carries. They're going to try and preserve Christian McCaffrey at all costs, except for the most competitive of situations where they need the best running back in the league. Kyle Shanahan, very smart in that regard. You know, it's difficult to kind of project him for fantasy purposes, but that's Elijah Mitchell is definitely a wild card guy that could have some big games.
If we get a Chargers Niners final, your boy over here could be seeing some paydays.
Yeah. You got a bet on those?
I don't. I still didn't get a chance to get my Cincy guys, so I went with not my favorite scenario, but at least it's one that has a winning type outcome.
Packers get in and face the Packers. Packers get in and face Green Bay. David's trying to mess with me over here. I think he meant to say San Fran. Rodgers beats Purdy to overcome his SF demons. Well, he cut his hair, so it's a start. He's trying, man. They're close. They're close.
Oh, Andy, looks like you're on the board, buddy.
I'm on the board, brother. I see Elijah Mitchell out there too. I'm gonna grab him.
They like to run.
All right. So there you have it, guys. So in terms of projecting best for the playoffs, I noticed that there was a clear dip the last couple weeks in Tony Pollard's value. So let me see what we've got ending in auction soonest. Let's get out of these sold items. See if we can't snipe something. Plates and patches out of 99. Man, that's super cheap and a fairly cool card. I just don't know that would move the needle. And dear God, that shipping is expensive.
Yeah, and that's a good learning tool we can use with since we're live right now. That could be a nice, $3 to $5 sale for you if you have that listed in an auction format. But you're not going to get it. You're not going to get that much because you're already drilling somebody with $4.50 shipping for a card under $20, and it ain't going to fly. So do the right thing. eBay standard shipping. Buyer's going to pay $1 for the shipping. They'll be more inclined to pay $4, $5, $6, $7 for that card.
And starting an optic hollow at $40. Come on, man. Man.
What's the I like that. Too bad that ends tomorrow. I like that a lot.
Flag them. There's a nice little one for you guys to watch. Love that shimmer. That's actually a wave design. That's a blue wave. Beautiful card. Out of 199. Love that. Jordan Mason. late round pick, Jordan Mason.
The only thing is that you'd probably be stuck drafting 3 Frisco running backs if you're doing that.
Well, they may go through them. Well, I mean, and you also have Tyrion Davis-Price, who's been getting carries every week recently. And I know Tyrion Davis-Price has some rookie cards. Jordan Mason does not, sir. Hard to parlay that with cards. Although I think it's an interesting play. You think Jordan Mason's actually better than TDP, or you just like the role a little bit better? I feel like their role is very similar there.
I think he's saying it makes a good tourney play because it's likely to be a low ownership.
JG's, man, I'm loving all that wax. Look at all that wax in JG's profile pic.
There's a nice green pulsar, Andy. Green pulsar prism.
Oh,
I think there was a nice rookie ticket up a few spots, but the photo was chopped in half and it was sideways for some reason.
What the hell?
There's a nice Spectra you just passed as well.
Where? Right there?
Nope. Go up a couple more.
Up a couple more.
Right there.
Right there. Actually, that's not a bad price out of 25.
Nice. One thing I like about the Spectra is the really bright ink autos.
Yeah, that's a bright ink. Yeah, that's cool. That's something you don't see every day. A lot of colors and stuff. You do have some stitching there. I mean, it would be a cool card. It's like really chunky. Does have rookie card logo. Tony Pollard doing a breakaway run. I like that. Spectra doesn't get a lot of love, man. If I was looking from an investment standpoint, I kind of stick to what I know is like super irresistible. And I find it's got to be a particular person to want to buy a Spectra like this. Although that thing checks a lot of boxes, Steve. Ain't gonna lie, you get a good pick there because the auto and the patch and serial number and the RC logo.
25. You got a nice unique auto, nice action shot. I've seen worse cards sell for a lot more.
Yeah, for sure. Prism silver, field level silver. If I get it for $5, I just hate that price tag on the shipping, man. They'd get me if that was $1 shipping. And if I get it for $5-10, I know I could flip that card for $20-25 all day. You know, that's like an easy flip. But with that shipping price tag, I'm just like, it ain't worth my hassle. You know, I'd rather find something that's a little bit more expensive, a little bit more rare, make a little bit bigger flip. I love the plays that you called out on the quarterbacks tonight, Steve. I think we've hit on a lot of the best ones. Actually, we have hit on all the best ones. We didn't really talk about Jared Goff. Obviously, long shot. The guy's prices have gone up. See that, Steve? They have gone up about 31%.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say before the season, you probably could have picked that up for like $25 or $30, I would think.
Let's rule that one out because it was probably an anomaly. It's probably like an autograph card that got thrown in there. If we go all the way back to August.
There you go. See?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I no doubt. Like there was a couple weeks in there when they were losing some games. You know, look at that, $31. I mean, like anytime you get a prison, and what's so cool about 2016 and 2017, and I know we talk about it so much, but if you're new, it's just so critical to understand. Is that all the rookies from 2016, 2017 came silver prism standard out of the box. This is their base prism. So that's what makes it even nicer. And like the gem rate, I know it actually looks like on the Jared Goff, the gem rate's a little bit lower than 50%. But if we were to look at Dak Prescott or Derrick Henry, the gem rate is actually much higher than 50% on the prism from 2016.
Ooh, Andy, I know maybe you don't like die cuts, but that select right there is just gorgeous. Obviously, There ain't a whole lot of those out there, but man, that's a nice card.
You know, it's different, man, because this is in a slab. So it's all of a sudden it's got square corners again for me. So I'm serious. I know it sounds weird, but I look at a die cut. Right. I look at a die cut in a slab differently than I look at a die cut raw. I don't know what it is. I think it's and I'm always afraid that I'm gonna somehow mess up a die cut because it's like it just the shape is so weird. There's so many more corners on it and edges on it that could potentially get damaged. But finding one that's already graded to a 10 for a couple $100 with that low of a serial number, I mean, it practically looks gold to me, Steve.
I
It
thought it
kind of
was
looks
too.
gold.
Is it not?
It doesn't say gold on the listing on either one of them, but
It looked gold in the image to me. I don't know.
I would actually go over and confirm that on Trading Card Database. Go pull up 2016 Select Jared Goff and see all the cards that are in there. Find that one, match it up, and see if that is in fact a gold or what it is. Oh,
You know,
brother.
okay, all right.
Okay,
You know,
all right.
Here's
Hey,
the thing, and I know that there's some people in the Discord that like to make some big time risks for their flips. Picking up backups and backups of backups and all that. You want to go like not quite that risky, but risky in the short term anyway. We talked about Tua a bit last week. We're talking Goff right now. Both of them could legitimately make the playoffs, right? Both of them legitimately could. And you would see quite a sizable jump because right now people are scared as F to buy Tuas, and naturally so with the concussions, the phantom concussion or whatever you want to call it, the most recent one. And, with Goff, you have a guy that could be leading a team that could be great for seasons to come, taking that team to the Super Bowl, hypothetically, for the first time. Imagine what kind of run that card would make. We would see November $36 PSA 10 silver prisms to, hypothetically, if they made the Super Bowl, that you could be seeing like a 10x plus on that.
spot on, Steve. Spot on, man. It's a great point. Sam Howell, very risky. If you're right, you're right. There is a lot of future performance-driven markers, but Jared Goff, man, if he gets in and you've got this guy who's a former first-round draft pick, starting job and all this, I mean, hey, it is a lot less risky because you got to think, I mean, obviously the man behind a good offensive line is good. So he's got a lot of time in the league for future performance-driven events. So I like that play as well. That pretty much, yeah.
I was gonna say I'm not necessarily out on Howell, but he's only going to really get one game to show what he's got. So you're putting a lot of eggs in one basket, right? Because maybe he gets another shot next year, but between now and then, there's going to be better buying opportunities than leading up to a week that he's going to start.
Well, also more product too.
Yeah.
All the other product. I mean, I just hate. I mean, I think that if you bought Sam Howell a couple weeks ago, yeah, you're good. Buying him this week is too late. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Have them listed for this weekend and try and take advantage of some of that rookie FOMO. But right now, I think it's 100% makes more sense to buy into a guy like Goff, Daniel Jones, Jalen Hurts, those guys we talked about. You want to go Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, even all those guys as well. It just becomes increasingly harder.
You have a safety net with those guys because they have a winning record. They're going to be the starting QB on their franchise next year. So if they don't make it as far as we anticipate them making it, they still have a high probability of repeating next year and giving you another shot at it. So with Howell, you have to hope that he has a great game and then also retains the starting job for next year. So you're just playing with a very volatile, small opportunity for him to get into that job.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, Steve. We're gonna cut it here for tonight, brother. A, we covered a lot of ground, a lot of topics. B, I really gotta take a leak. And C, I'm probably getting a little too sauced up to be on a live stream. But no, it's all seriousness. It's been a great live stream. Appreciate all you guys. Make sure you go down, like the video. If you're not subscribed, you're like still watching this after an hour and a half, what the hell are you waiting for, man? And check us out over in the Discord server, patreon.com/footballcards. You want access to the Keep 'em Football Card Prices web app. Shout out to our sponsors, Underdog Fantasy, the Card Shop Live. Steve, good show, man.
Yeah, I'm glad we got a draft in. And guys, don't forget to get involved in some of your own mitten drafts and get acclimated with the website, because in the offseason, we will be doing a lot of best ball drafts for the regular season.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. And every single one of them, we're going to parlay with football cards that we can buy on eBay. Speaking of which, I've had a nice little mail day piled up right here, baby, to share with you guys tomorrow. Is my plan. I'm going to make it happen, including a package right here. This one. I'm not going to show you who it's from, but it says Hitman on the front of it.
Ooh,
I got something from the Hitman, people.
Looking forward to the video, Andy. Will that be coming out tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm gonna make it happen, man. Even if the editing is subpar, because I got to do it quick, we're gonna get it done, man. I'm sure there'll be some sound effects and stuff in there. I can't do a video without a few sound effects and cutscenes and stuff.
I did recently treat myself to 2 PC cards, and I will say that it will be a minute till it arrives. It has to go through eBay authentication before it arrives, but I'm excited to show it once it comes in the mail. Maybe we'll open it on live. We'll see.
Dude, I would love to open it live. Save it for next week.
Yeah, if it's here by then. And actually, next week may be a special broadcast from my hotel room, since I will be traveling. But I will see if I can get the hotel internet working so we can do a little show.
Oh, so next week's the week. I've been wondering. Okay, all right, cool.
Yes, sir.
You might have to go check out 26 Degree Brewing. I think you're heading down to that area, aren't you?
Yeah. No, I'll be in South Florida, and I will definitely
Pompano
check it out.
Beach.
Pompano? How far is that from Miami Lauderdale?
It's not far, because I could have swore he said Fort Lauderdale, but so it's got to be close. All that. Yeah. We'll connect. We'll connect about that offline. But appreciate you guys, man. Appreciate you guys. Actually, I gotta record a giveaway for the patrons as well over on patreon.com. I'm gonna go and do some Hall of Famer throwback cards this month. I'm giving away a Peyton Manning rookie card. They're from Top Stadium Club. And then I'm also doing a Mike Evans, doing a little Mike Evans. I'm gonna save them. Doing a little Calvin Ridley. A little Calvin Ridley action.
Ooh, nice.
And a little Joey Bosa action. How about that? I'm gonna save the Mike Evans and one more card as a secret. So I'll see you guys backstage. Mohamed Sanu. No, not really. Not so much Phantom. No, don't. Unless that's your PC guy. Yeah, unless that's your PC guy, man. Don't go there. Right, Steve?
Yeah. Some guys are better just to PC, like my guy Mitch Trubisky.
There you go.
Unless he ever gets a starting job again, but I'll be collecting him either way. So
just a good guy, man. Just a good guy. I gotta get a Trubisky on the wall, man. I'm gonna have to buy one just for you, Steve.
Do it.
I'm gonna if I ever ran into Mitch Trubisky, I'm gonna ask him to sign Hitman on the card.
Do it. That would be amazing.
So if I ever meet Trubisky one day when we make it famous, maybe we'll be at the National signing autographs. Be like, hey, dude, this. I know you don't know who I am, Mitch, but we got the football card quest going on. You're a popular guy over there. I need you to sign Hitman on this card. See if I can get it. See if I can get him to sign it up.
No, definitely. No, definitely. I did peek ahead. There is some intriguing guests, athletes in particular, that will be at the National. That's just the initial list that they've announced so far. So could be good.
Cool.
Could be
I'm looking
good.
forward to it, man. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna make it happen. That's
You're
another
gonna be
thing
in
I'm
my
gonna make
hometown.
happen.
You better be there.
I've announced it to the world, the YouTube world, the Football Card Quest community. Orlando, what's good, man? Orlando, good to see you, sir. We got to connect offline as well. So yeah, I'm gonna be there. It's been a fun live stream, Steam, but we're out, man. That's the episode for tonight. All right, guys, we will see you very soon.
Have a good night, everyone. Peace.
Peace.